We had a discussion at a meeting we had out here last fall, and the same question arose, and from my perspective, and I'll only speak from my perspective, I'm looking for this subcommittee or the PAC, POAC, whatever we're going to call ourselves after a couple of days, we come back with a matrix of what would be the criteria for industrial property purchases within the county. I mean, are we looking at, does, and I'm just throwing out some stuff, and it may not be all of the criteria, but criteria such as, is there broadband access? What kind of infrastructure may be already at the site? Roads, streets, size of parcels. To me, I don't think you need to be going out looking for properties, but giving us the criteria, which when and if we do have an opportunity to come out, somebody's coming in to look for property, the staff would have an inventory of property that met the criteria that was established by you. And that's what I'm looking at as real estate developer or investment people who have that expertise, along with Heber, who has that same expertise, and but to come back as a with some criteria which we can take a piece of property and evaluate it against that criteria. And I don't know if that's a proper way to look at it, but that's what I'm looking at as far as that you give us a tool which we can use the staff can use and we can use to evaluate property as opportunities come along. If we have a cookie maker coming in, what are they going to do? Water might be something, cardinal glass is a prime. Why did they choose to go where they did? Because of this, and this. So maybe there's a whole list of a whole list of things, and some things are going to be higher rated depending on whatever is coming into that industrial site or what we're looking to do at the time. That's what I'm kind of hoping to get out of it. I don't know if that's clear as mud or what, but that's what I.
We have that.
We do, but we're going to, based on the conversations we've had, we're going to modify that criteria. We also have an example of which the criteria was applied against it. We're going to look for another example where it was successfully applied for an acquisition versus not applied.
Yeah, I asked this question of Lisa several meetings ago. Do you have a work plan from the commission? As you know, in the public participation report, we sat down, the subcommittee sat down with each of you and said, here's our work plan, and we got your comments on it, and that work plan is an appendix to our report. It seems to me that's what should be done with this task, and in the resolution it says, when the Port Commission decides to seek advice from the committee, the commission shall meet with the committee to develop a work plan. So I think you guys, before you get into report drafting, the scope or whatever you have the example of the public participation work plan. You need to do the same thing, and that's what you need to send to the commissioners to make sure they are in agreement that this is where you're headed. Not wait until you've drafted the whole report for the PAC's review. I mean, it would be wrong to send the draft report to the commission before we've had a chance to look at it.
So I agree with Clyde. I think that's important. So that, if you do it that way, you can get a clear sense from all three what problem it was they were hoping you would set out to tackle. I don't think myself, as an observer right now, you have a clear indication of that. That's why Jim was, I think that's the point Jim was trying to raise.
I guess where I'm just not quite clear on it. Again, I'm sorry I'm slow on the uptake here. Could you define what the work plan itself? I guess that's where I'm not quite clear.
Clyde is going to show up to you.
So Clyde has the detailed work plan. Lisa had the much more abstracted work plan.
Correct.
And that's fine, but even the abstracted one, I don't hear that there's any agreement. But we basically, here the work, we made a list of public participation techniques. That was part of the task to do. So you're going to make a list of real estate evaluation criteria.
Correct.
We had a step to meet with staff to get their ideas. That's something I think that you have done. we said we met with the commissioners to review the work plan. And, we didn't have a meeting, because of, we just designated, I met with some of the commissioners, but Don met with others, and just said, here's our draft work plan, and it got tweaked. There was no internal conflict, and that maybe that's what's going to happen here. And if there is, then you have to surface that and get it resolved. One of our steps was to meet with the people who had requested suspension of development on North Point, because we were supposed to look at North Point. So it was just a list of things we were going to do to come up with the final report. And we, part of it was reviewing all these many standards that we summarized in the report. And then the final step was, to draft a summary of our research and recommendations, present it to the PAC and get their approval to present it to the commissioners. So I think if you look at this, you get an idea of what
If I
you
could
have to do.
revise my comments to the commissioners, we might be a ways off on this report. So, thank you for your comments.
If I might share a perspective here, because I often find myself in a position of the loyal opposition, can I say, with the court staff and the board. And I was one of the people that proposed the idea of this real estate reinvestment tax or fund, because I think that our real estate, our real property is our major resource for the port, for development, for lease, for other kinds of activities. And I originally had, the very initial time, supposed that we would put that money in a separate fund apart from the general financial pool of monies that the port operates with and manages. But that is not what happened. It's been folded in. So I think that if we I oppose selling some real estate.
The real estate reinvestment fund is a restricted fund by resolution that we have not changed. So it is in there, and I think we're at 2.3 or 3.2, and when we make a couple of property sales here that we've already committed to that we'll bring in, and that fund will then get up to 4.5. So it is it's in the overall financial picture of the port, but it is reserved and restricted.
I'm just saying, it made me uncomfortable commingling those monies with all the other port funds.
Commissioner, we really need to correct the record on that. All organizations generally will commingle all their funds. It has nothing to do with the accounting and the tracking of the real estate reinvestment fund. No money has been commingled from an accounting standpoint. We can tell you every single day how much money is in there, and it is only used for what the policy says in the commission statement, which is for real estate reinvestment. Period. It is not, the commingling is an accounting administrative function, or whether we have bond money or whether we have other money. It's all commingled for administrative purposes, not for policy purposes.
I'm not a professional.
No, I understand that, but what you were saying is misrepresenting what's there. I think it's very important factually, because that is a policy which we have to adhere to, and we are adhering to it.
No, I'm not saying you're not.
Well,
I'm
you said you were
expressing
uncomfortable.
my discomfort, the fact that it's commingled, because I don't know if there's going to be some kind of glitch may happen. I don't know.
No.
I just think that we have a need to be able to reinvest in real estate holdings for the port's long-term benefit. And it just makes me personally uncomfortable the way it's done. It's how they do it. It's their claim is that there's no question about the authenticity of the funds, the amount of money that's there, all that. I'm just expressing to you that I think that it's important that we look at investing in new real estate holdings with the receipts of the money that we've received from the sale of our real estate. Because if we don't, we'll just eventually run out of real property to be able to use for responsible investment opportunities.
Steve, I want to help you in your clarity. So what can we do to help define what it is you're going to be searching for?
My recollection of the first time that we met, and I don't want to digress too much, but Commissioner McGregor's comments were right on point. And then it was from what I remember that initial conversation last fall was to that degree.